Michelle here.
Daniel.
OG Rose.
Kids are asleep. So.
We think.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. The
monitor.
You never know with Haven. He's probably drawing something in his bed with the flashlight. So.
Yeah. He's making some math problems for me.
Oh, well, we might be in trouble. We were English majors, weren't we? He started asking me the functions of, like, all the functions in math, and I was like, addition.
I was like, oh no, I'm going to have to brush up on trigonometry and calculus.
Right, which brings us to the blog, which is none of us are very smart. Yeah, that's right.
Case
none of
in
us
point.
are very smart. We should focus on being logical more than being intelligent, because you really, if at the end of the day, all any of us really know is 1% of all there is to know, what does it really mean to say that we're smart? And the word smart just kind of implies that we know a lot more than we actually do.
I think it's very dangerous to feel so smart.
Oh yeah.
I think that this isn't the goal, but to have everyone almost be like, it's like a downfall of someone to be educated and then think of themselves as smart and then have this kind of dilemma though.
Overconfidence.
But I think that you find that in school, in institutions of school, really, because the whole point is like to come and get smart, be smart, Yeah,
and then status, and then the game is hiding what you don't know and pretending you know more than you do. And I don't think it's by chance that, in my opinion, the greatest thinkers and philosophers, whether it be Hume or Hayek or someone like Nassim Taleb, all of them are skeptical of thinking. They're skeptical of how far thinking can take us, and they're skeptical of everything we can know. And it's interesting because it actually takes a lot of intelligence to realize how unintelligent you are, because the name of the because when you don't know something, you don't know it, and it's easy to feel like you do know it. Kathy Saltz has this great book on being wrong that talks all about that. Thomas Sowell talks about the intellectual class, and Paul Johnson, but no, the whole education system is about making you smart. And the blog basically argues that we need to not make our goal being smart, but being logical. Because being logical, if at the end of the day we can only know 1% of all there is to know, it's far more useful to know how to respond when we encounter information we don't know, or when we encounter our own ignorance, as opposed to be smart and have like some ideas stored up that we can use when we need them, like Pokemon, because whatever ideas we have stored up are going to be a very small % of all there is we need to know. So another way to put it, I guess, is it's better to be good at adaptation and improvisation. That's the skill you want.
I just want to make a meme now.
A meme?
Yeah. I gotta make some memes. I've got like meme creations in my head all the time. I want to make like two people who disagree with one another on either side of the meme, and then like they're just like throwing Pokeballs at each other, and like over the Pokeballs it's like facts.
Bulba fact! I choose you! Chara fact! Oh no, and that's the problem.
Because we were talking the other day where it's almost like we were talking about two people disagreeing, and how it's almost like the more equipped they are with facts, actually the more they'll probably disagree.
Oh yeah.
It's almost like it almost doesn't, and this is where logic comes in, because if you can make an argument from logic, guess what? The facts don't even matter. And that doesn't mean that doesn't mean facts are irrelevant, or that they're not true, or that they're not, facts are real, and,
Sure. The case does not rest on facts.
Exactly. The case does not rest on facts. Facts are real, and they can substantiate that particular case, perhaps.
Sure.
But the thing is that if you're just going on facts, five people over, one person's going to bring 5 pieces of their facts to make their argument. The other person's going to make the exact opposite argument with their 5 pieces of facts.
That's correct.
And so, and
ascribing to different experts, and unless you're the experts, which experts do you trust?
But if it's logical, that just cuts through all of that.
It's self-evident.
It just cuts through all of that, and it's a case that can be made without those facts.
Right? Because, another way to put it,
that can actually help you decipher if which facts are like true or supportive, I suppose.
Well, correct. Well, you never convince someone with facts because they just disagree with the experts, your facts.
Say, I have these facts.
Yeah, that's right. And they just delegitimize whatever experts you got your facts from, or they say those facts are incomplete. Human beings are masters of ideology preservation. We can always just interpret or spin whatever we see in a way that makes us not have to change our minds. So if you're going to change, because there's a difference between an argument to justify yourself and an argument to convince someone. And one of the big mistakes is thinking that because you have an argument that justifies your view, therefore it ought to be convincing to other people. Mm-hmm. Well, most certainly you can have an argument that justifies your view that is completely true and completely valid. And yet it still won't necessarily change somebody's mind if they have to assent to the source of your facts, and they don't, and maybe they should, but they're not going to be forced to, and that gets into that paper compelling, which is in the conflict of mind.
But that's the power of logic, a logical argument is something that...
Which we don't teach in school.
No.
We don't. We focus on smart instead of logic.
Right, but the beauty of logic, too, is it's such a common ground, I think. If we can all share logic, it's something that hopefully could be... Well, it does. If you're open to it, I guess if you're so kind of fixated on your smartness and your facts and what you have, your case, and you're not. But if logic is I feel like it's a very beautiful middle ground where it can appeal to any logic, right? It can appeal to anybody, no matter their worldview.
Oh, yeah, well, right. Well, there's an idea of logic as a kind of universal language, right? Where it's not, where facts are individual languages. Mm-hmm. And so I have to be convinced by your facts, I need to know your individual language. Yeah. Where to be convinced by your logic, well, that's universal. Now, of course, people, they say, what are you saying? Oh, there's alternative facts and facts aren't real. No. Yeah. We're saying the ability of facts to change people's minds is not too great.
And I like this part in the blog where it says, a far more important skill is learning how to think about stuff we just encountered or never thought about before, and how to think based on incomplete information.
Right.
Whereas a focus on smartness suggests we need to store up all the answers, so like Pokemon, right?
Right.
So that we're ready for whatever comes our way, and yet it's not possible to prepare for any more than maybe 1% of what's out there.
Yeah, and the problem is, since that's the case, if you bring up facts that I've never heard before, then what I do is I say, well, I've never heard that before. And then I'll either, one, forget this conversation and not change my mind, or two, I have to go and read those things. Right. So when you deploy Pokemon on me, usually what just ends up happening is people say, oh, I didn't hear that. And they don't go look up to confirm what you're saying, and so they don't change their mind. So it's much better if you can logically present a case that then they don't have to do any work. Like, let's put it this way. If you make an argument that requires the person you're talking to do some work, they're not going to change their mind.
That's a good point, yeah. If they can do it right there and then, which logic will allow them to do, then they can actually consider a new case, in that moment.
Yeah, right then and there. And then, the blog closes with the idea that if we conflate logic and smart and assume that someone is smart who's logical, or let's put it this way, if we focus on smartness instead of logic, then you can actually get a problem with it, because there's a big problem today where nobody trusts experts, which if you don't understand that an expert is not going to know all the answers, they're just going to be perhaps more qualified, well, then you can either, one, overtrust them, because you say, oh, well, they're smart, so everything they say, I can trust because they're an expert. Mm-hmm. Or two, you can be overly cynical when they inevitably get something wrong or the data is incomplete because they can't know everything. And you'll say, well, that's of course, that just proves the experts are all fakes. So another unintentional consequence of the focus on smart is we don't get a good balance. We either let our experts control our lives too much, or we destroy all legitimacy in experts. And of course, you can't function without experts because you can't research everything on your own. It's the story Ludwig that we did.
I feel like, logic is there's something so profound and simple about it.
Sure.
It's almost like not sexy enough, like smart gets it's like that can be accolades, and not that there's anything wrong with those things. Institutions are not inherently wrong, but there's something that's less. It's just so common sense, common sense and logic. I know that's different, but similar. And so I think maybe that's why it doesn't get as much credit as it deserves.
Well, you can't I don't think you can get a PhD in logic. logic is not really so much a subject, right? Unless logic, what is that, the rapper? Maybe the rapper you get a PhD in, doing a research on his lyrics.
Kind of like a PhD on
logic or logic systems or different things. Well, I think the problem is we just assume we have logic.
And then you're so right about it being like, it's not its own subject. It's relegated to some weird, unit in math.
Or
seriously,
philosophy,
like our logic unit,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so nobody.
Yeah.
Well,
so
and also,
really sees it's a way of. It's actually it's like a muscle of your mind.
Well, maybe the other issue is since your brain naturally kind of thinks sequentially, and one thing leads to the other, you thus assume you are logical because you think, I'm hungry. Oh, let's go to McDonald's. So there's a kind of logic there because there's sequence. Maybe that's not. It's always McDonald's, right? Okay, Cafe du Monde or Courthouse Cafe from the last talk. So there's something where the brain naturally presents.
Jiggly fact.
Jiggly fact. No. Jiggly fact. But it's like the brain naturally experiences your thoughts in a sequential manner that then convinces you are capable of logic. Yeah. So then why would you study it?
Yeah.
And so maybe there's a problem where the phenomenology of thinking in being sequential feels like logic, and therefore we assume we are logical, and so then we don't do the work. So that might be part of the problem, but that would be worth exploring.
Right, and I think it ties a lot into the truth, not the rational, but that's a whole other topic for another time. But I think hopefully this blog will kind of shed some light on it.
Yeah, sure. Getting that conversation going.
Well, friends.
Well, we're gonna go play Pokemon. And we're gonna throw some Pokefacts.
Just like us, throwing Pokeballs at each other.
The Master Fact Ball. The Pokeling Chara Fact. But thank you all for listening, and this has been OG Rose. You can find our work at ogrose.com and Instagram and Facebook. Please like us and subscribe to us on YouTube, and thank you for your time.